Hello and welcome. How are you doing today? My day was pretty quiet. It was my supervisor's final day, so he sent out a last email just wrapping things up and saying farewell. He thanked me for reading the poem at his retirement party, and he specifically said that it was not a poem that he had encountered before, but that his daughter is an English major and was familiar with it, which I thought was pretty neat. It's, if nothing else, I am glad that I was able to spark a bit of conversation between the two of them. All right. It is 7:30, so we may as well get started. Yeah, it got me thinking more about the question that you'd posed. Oh, I guess a quick refresher as to what had happened at the end of our last stream. We made it from ice, which is where we started. I think was it ice? Might have been a little bit before ice. Started before ice. We made it up to the wherever the heck the giant stone golem is, and then had our progress reset by the golem. So now we're back to wherever the heck this is, toothpaste level, as we had decided. Yeah, it got me thinking more about the question that you had asked about, like, what exactly it was that I wanted to get out of streaming. I wasn't super happy with the answers that I'd given prior. Felt like I just said a lot of things, and overall just kind of conflicted. I did a little bit more thinking about it. I think entertainment is definitely high on the list. Like, being able to reach people, make them smile, provide some sort of bright spot in their lives, definitely is definitely important to me. Even just this small interaction that I had with my supervisor, and him saying like, oh, hey, I was able to have some amount of connection with my daughter. From what I understand, he's got a pretty good relationship with his children. That isn't necessarily surprising or out the ordinary. But that kind of like human interaction, yes, something that I definitely value. And I was thinking about how historically I've had issues with setting and pursuing long-term goals. Talked about tangentially in the past, specifically with like habit building. So because I've never been capable of setting and pursuing habits, obviously made planning and pursuing long-term goals difficult as well. I've never really been one for things like New Year's resolutions or things of that nature, just because it's so easy for me to get distracted midway. I mentioned, being unable to keep up with gacha games because I found the dailies to be too much of a chore to keep up with, and like those are systems that are engineered to like give instant gratification, like fast access dopamine, right? Like the way that the systems are set up are specifically geared to build habits, and yet here I am unable to maintain even the most like systemically rewarded habits I face. And there was a very brief period when I'd first sort of settled on my most recent medication dosage, which was, that was back in like March, April of last year. Where I've never found those kinds of things rewarding, like Habitica. Yeah, it really depends on the person. I think it also depends on like a person's current state of being. There are definitely times when I am very much motivated by numbers go up, but I feel like it's very much it's very much reactionary, in that the worse, maybe not the worst I'm doing, there's definitely like some degree of some variance in how much I value instant gratification that is based off of like my state of being. Shoot. All right, let's try it again. So like when so last year, March, April-ish, when I first sort of like found a successful medication dosage, there was a period of time where I was like really motivated to pursue certain things. So I did end up setting like some long-term goals for myself. And they weren't even that long-term. It was just like, okay, two months from now, I want to be able to like meet these goals, these numbers that I've set for myself. So one of the things I struggle with goal setting is like, it's really easy to set really ambiguous goals. It's really easy to say things like, oh, I want to get fit. And it's like, okay, well, what does that mean? So it like is very nebulous as to what that actually means. So being able to numbers to something like that is typically more helpful. So at the time I was like, okay, I want to like hit a certain number for like the like weightlifting fitness goals. So at the time I was weightlifting as a main form of physical activity. And I was like really engaged with working on my literacy in Chinese. So I was like, okay, you know, I want to be able to read at a certain level that correlates with like a national language proficiency exam. I think there was one more thing. I think it was base related. I don't remember what exactly it was off the top of my head. So I had 3 goals that I had set for myself, and I was like, okay, 2 months from now, these are the metrics that I want to meet. And even though I was like mentally and physically doing well at the time, oh dear, I'm just completely lost that. Oh, I see. That was unexpected. Do I fall through this? I do not fall through this. Okay, that's fascinating. Does it get yeeted by the golem? It does get yeeted by the golem. Okay, good to know, good to know, good to know. Goodbye! So with those 3 goals, I just never ended up achieving any of them, because my priorities in life shifted. So I just like put all 3 of those goals down, and we're like, okay, I have other goals that I want to pursue that have like taken precedence. And since that experience, I've sort of come to the similar. Basically, I've come to the same conclusion again, which is I am not good at setting and pursuing long-term goals. So it feels a little bit weird to like think about what I want out of this, because the honest answer is just kind of like, yeah, I don't really know. There's like sort of like a pie in the sky, like, oh hey, you know, wouldn't it be nice, kind of dealy. But like that doesn't mean anything, because it's not like not realistically something that I can like look at and then work towards. So instead, what I've done my entire life is just basically identify, okay, what is the next step? What does one step forward look like? And then worked on that. So I think for the purposes of streaming, so like I guess like pie in the sky ideal is like, hey, you know, I want to be able to entertain people. I want to like reach an audience. I want to provide them with entertainment and enjoyment and like brighten their lives. And the next step as of right now is to work on my my conversing and my storytelling, which is, I think, something that I've just like not been particularly good at ever, really. But I think that is a valuable skill set to have for doing this kind of work. That's what I'm gonna work on, I guess. Bad stories. Yeah, I mean, sure, like I have stories that I can tell, of course, sure, but I don't necessarily have the skills to tell them in a way that is like particularly engaging outside of the story itself. And you know, I think that is what separates someone who is good at storytelling versus someone who is just telling a story. a good storyteller can very much make the most mundane topics interesting. And a person who is merely telling a story can sometimes even make really interesting and engaging stories. Like not really land. That's a learned skill. Exactly. So I think that is sort of like my near-term goal, to work on this skill set. I guess we'll go hang over to the right-hand side here. So part of why I wanted to, you know, play some games that haven't necessarily been, not necessarily in my wheelhouse. So, you know, when I first started streaming, it was all roguelikes. And more recently, I've played some Muse Dash, and now I'm playing the game of Sisyphus, and just sort of been to facilitate my learning to hold a conversation and tell stories while sort of like engaged in another activity. Where it's like, for the most part, I can get away with a like my subconscious mostly focused on the game itself, and then my conscious brain can sort of chat. And I think in the long run, maybe it'll be possible for me to which side of my brain does what. This is a good game to chat over. Yes, very much so. It is fairly slow paced. There is not a ton of strategizing involved. It is not particularly micro intensive. It's a pretty low brain game, all things considered. I think Muse Dash is more of a like targeted, more of a focused attempt to practice speaking while otherwise engaged, while the game of Sisyphus is more of a exercise in like finding topics to talk about and talking about them at length without too much like outside prompting. Which, you know, I think those are both important important sides to this skill set. Muse Dash is definitely more intense than the game of Sisyphus is, for sure. And then sort of secondarily, in that it is less of a focus, I guess. It is not something that I think I will be engaged with as much or as consistently, but also is a related skill set. I do want to become better at making thumbnails and titles for my stream. I thought the one for today was pretty amusing. My only regret is not making it donks instead of stones. When I was putting it together, I couldn't figure out how to make the letters go in a way that made sense, that read well. But in hindsight, it probably should have been STOENKS. That's okay, you know. Small optimizations. This certainly gets the point across, even if it is not optimal. And then, you know, I've talked about what I want to work on for the for like the videos that I do on my channel. Where it's more on the audio side of things, learning how to mix well. Formatting is a little cut off. See what you see. Interesting, interesting. Okay, so I believe actually, okay. Got it. Yeah, typically when I make art for videos, it is I guess the technical term would be full HD. It is 1920 by 1080. And now that I'm thinking about it, when I created the thumbnail for this stream, I just pulled the meme template and then used whatever ratio. So that is definitely something that I will have to keep in mind. As I said, you know, it is a skill set that I am working on. So hey, hopefully we'll see improvements on that front in the streams to come. Learning, I hope your feedback, yes, your feedback is absolutely helpful. As long as I'm actually able to apply my learnings. It is definitely good feedback. I'm not sure what exactly I would need to change or how I would go about changing it. Well, obviously the ratio, the aspect ratio is what I need to change. I'm not sure how I would go about checking to make sure that it is correct. That's definitely something that I can do now that I have the knowledge to do so. So hopefully the next stream thumbnail will be better. With any luck, I anticipate reaching the summit this stream. Fingers crossed. Probably a preview some window somewhere on the back end. Yeah, I think there was. I just didn't pay enough attention to it when I was putting it together. I threw it together after the stream on Tuesday. Just didn't think too much about it. I mean, you know, before the game of Sisyphus, I literally just took screenshots that I found online and just all that good enough. This is the first time I'm sort of experimenting with creating my own thumbnails. And I'm always of the opinion that the benefits of a minimum viable product outweigh the time spent polishing something to perfection, in terms of learning at least. There's far more to be learned. Learning happens far more efficiently when putting out multiple minimum viable products than putting out one singular, extremely polished product. Because there's a lot of work that needs to go in the last, like, you know, 10% of a project. But frequently the number of lessons learned in that last few percentages just isn't as much as, say, like the first 70%. So I'm perfectly happy with my stream and my assets being scuffed, if that's what it takes to get a stream to happen with assets of any kind. Like the little avatar that I'm using is, you know, something that I threw together in half an hour, maybe. Probably less. I don't enjoy the last 10%. So for fun projects, I just don't do them. Just do the fun parts. Yes, exactly. The fun part is in the learning, right? So if you get to the last 10% and you look at it and you're like, there's really not that much learning we had in doing the last 10%. That's okay. Just don't do it. Especially if the projects are fun. Oh, that was funky. Glad those fingers exist though. Yeah, I'm very much the same way. I mentioned on previous streams how I used to do Beat Saber mapping, and I only have one map published, even though I've brought maybe like 3 or 4 of them to like 90%. Yeah, same thing. Got down to those last 10% and was just like, not feeling it anymore. Didn't end up publishing them. Which is a little bit of a shame, but you know, I feel like that sometimes. Definitely have a bit more of a completionist streak when it comes to my YouTube cover projects. I think part of it came from like almost like a place of desperation, where I had, you know, when I first started this YouTube channel, I felt like I had something to prove, I guess. So I like very much wanted to like get stuff out. Was very paid a lot of attention to the numbers. Like I mentioned before, there are times in my life where I am very motivated by numbers, and when I first started this YouTube channel, it was very much one of those times. I think, oh dear, dang, I'm a fool. Got distracted talking. Oh man. Back to the golem. Whoop. Bye. Feels bad. Gotta pay more attention. Oh, nope, just bounced straight over the checkpoint. Love this for me. That's a rough level. Honestly, I don't think it's that bad. It is punishing, but I feel like I'm only getting screwed because my mind is wandering. Getting too invested into chatting. so when I first started this channel, I very much just like pushed projects out because I wanted to see the numbers. Big dopamine hit. So when I first started doing this, I was like making a video a week. And as the scope of my videos increased, I was like, okay, well, I'm now kind of forced to give myself more time in that schedule. Just because, you know, it was now more work than I could do in a single week. And then after that, there was still like, even though I'd sort of like given myself permission to not have like a rigid deadline, there was still, I still felt pressure to like put out content at a quote unquote reasonable pace. I think part of the desperation was also just sort of my experience with hobbies prior is that like everything is very much a phase. Unless there is like an extreme amount of structure built into my life to support something in particular, things will just fall away. So anytime that I feel like deeply engaged by something, I always feel like I have to act on that feeling immediately. Strike while the iron is hot. Otherwise, you know, I'll lose that spark and then it'll never come back. I think recently I've come to realize that, like, you know, I've been doing this long enough. This referring to, you know, maintaining my YouTube channel, I guess. I've been doing this long enough that it is now like an integrated part of my life. It's just like something that I do. So when I oh yeah, for most things I gotta do it then. I made peace with having a parade of hobbies. None of them are a waste. Absolutely. Yeah. The time that we spend with hobbies is inherently valuable. We don't need to have finished products. We don't need to have developed like a perfectly polished skill set. Just the fact that we've spent time with it is good enough. But I think the stuff that I do for this channel has sort of integrated itself into my life in a way that I am now comfortable in a more relaxed pace. I don't feel the urge to oh gosh. I no longer feel the need to take advantage and, like, you know, try to catch lightning in a bottle. And I think part of it is that there's just so many different skill sets to work on there's always something new to learn, even if I get bored or hung up on something. So sometimes I'll find a quiet moment in my life when I am not otherwise doing something. So like, you know, when I'm meeting for work, or when my medication wakes me up at 3 a.m. or when I have a quiet day at work, there's not really much actual work for me to do. There's just any number of things for me to work on. It's not always the same. Sometimes I end up thinking about lyric translations, and sometimes I think about stream titles and thumbnails, and sometimes I think about topics that I want to talk about, and sometimes I go hunting for new songs that I would be interested in covering. But all of these sort of like facilitate the same end goal. So recently I've not felt as pressured to force out content. And I think in doing so, I've given myself permission to polish things up a little bit more, learn some more skills, which ironically means that I will be putting out better content. At least that's the hope. In a way, I guess it's kind of similar to gaming, which is like the only other hobby that's remained consistent in my life. Where, you know, sometimes when one game no longer captures your interest for whatever reason, there's always another game to try out. Except that with gaming, I also have a large social infrastructure set up to help me maintain that consistency. But I guess since you're watching me now, I now also have some sort of social incentive to keep doing this. I've been working on some of the animations for the cover of Silhouette that I'm working on with a couple of friends. And I feel bad because I was out of town this past weekend, as I mentioned. I'm going to be out of town again this weekend, so I don't have as much time as I would really like to really sink my teeth into this project. Watch a lot of streamers, find it quite interesting. Well, I'm glad you're here. Hopefully you find me to be at least equivalently entertaining. Not that I expect to be. But, you know, if you are investing your time into this endeavor, then I want to make this experience as positive of an experience as I can. For sure, I understand the difference between streaming to no one versus but one person. Absolutely. It definitely makes a big difference. I like supporting my close friends. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm sure if you went back and watched my streams that I did to absolutely no one, they're definitely much lower quality. To be fair, you know, there are some technical improvements, like I have thumbnails now, and I've figured out mic settings and filters and whatnot. But also I've started working on my ability to just talk about stuff, which I think is pretty relevant, pretty important for streaming in general. Hopefully I will be able to continue to improve. I've been considering, I'll be here, I appreciate it. Recently I've been considering going through and clipping bits of my streams to put together shorts or something like that. I don't think I'm quite there yet. I think there are, I think I want to become a better streamer before I put time and effort into building an audience. But maybe one day. After all, if I'm already going through the trouble of watching back my streams, then it's like, well, how much more effort would it be to pick out bits to clip? It was very weird picking up the animation work again after spending the long weekend away. Not that I did much work with it before for the long weekend, at least not like immediately before the long weekend. 8 more standard effort units. If only it was so easy to measure and so consistent. One unit of effort definitely varies in quantity from day to day. But I feel like when I had last worked on the animation, I'd really like locked in a process. Maybe it wasn't a process, maybe it's just like an intuition. I keep forgetting that I can step on these yellow sections, just the boulder cannot. I really felt like I had locked in an intuition or a process. I don't remember which one exactly, for like timing everything out. And then when I went back to it last couple of days, I was just like really struggling to get back in the groove of things. I just could not figure out how to like think my way through it anymore. I just keep watching sections back and be like, no, the timing's off. And I don't know, I don't know what I did before to make it work. And it's not working now. Whatever I'm doing. But that's okay. We'll figure it out with time. Even if it takes longer than it did before, you know, we'll get there in the end. Due dates for that is coming up though. The soft deadline that we set for ourselves is just about 2 weeks away. And I think the drop dead deadline is maybe 3 weeks, something like that. We'll see how it goes. All right. Final stretch, I guess. So I think if we make it here, feels like the end for sure. Yeah. If we make it here, I think I will just try out the speed running boulder. See how far I can get in the rest of our stream tonight. And then we'll have to figure out what we want to stream for next week. I'm happy to, you know, play the other games that I've streamed before. It would certainly be nice to get to the end of the content that exists for Hades 2. But I guess there isn't really a rush since, you know, that is still in early access. For Cobalt Core, I think I have 3 more memories left to unlock. So that is another option. But there are definitely also other games that I would consider streaming. I remember talking about some of the other games that Play has made when we were originally streaming Rotwood. And I was like, yeah, I remember enjoying those. I could definitely revisit them. So Mark of the Ninja or Invisible Ink. It's been so long that I don't really remember anything about them. That could be interesting. I'd be down to stream more Muse Dash just as more practice for chatting, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily not sure if it needs to be Muse Dash. Next Thursday you'll be out of town. May or not make it, depending on what. That's okay. As mentioned before, always appreciate your presence, but definitely don't feel obligated. If I stream to no one, I'll just stream to no one. I'd also consider like some Monster Hunter. I have a few friends who recently picked up Monster Hunter Rise. And I told them that if they start playing, then I would be happy to start a new character and learn a new weapon. So maybe we'll do that. And then more longer term, I've heard that the Outer Wilds is a neat, like, experience to watch someone play through for the first time. And I know nothing about the game other than that. That's also an option. So definitely have lots of options. If you have thoughts, feel free to offer them. You'd love to watch me play Outer Wilds? Look nothing up? Okay. Have I played Tunic? I have not played Tunic. I've definitely seen like promotional art for it. I love the aesthetic. But historically, I've not really been one for like long single player experiences, just because I've primarily been a social gamer. But for the purposes of streaming, I am down to tackle a longer single player experience, because, you know, I'll have you. How long is long? Honestly, anything that is longer than like the run of a roguelike. So anywhere from like, well, 2 hours is probably, hour and a half, 2 hours is probably like the longest of a roguelike run that I'm comfortable with. I remember we played a fair amount of FTL together way back when. We've made it. Sisyphus, you finally reached the summit. I know your journey wasn't easy. Just like the world you've lived in, filled with effort and pain, injustices and resentments, things not going as planned. It's not just the world of humans that's absurd. Everyone eventually dies. Even the wisest cannot uncover all truths. Living without knowing even the reason for one's birth. As long as one is born human, the world seems only absurd. Sisyphus, what meaning can you find in this endless suffering? I acknowledge meaningless. I acknowledge the meaninglessness and pursue unconditional joy in the moments between life and death. I will love and maintain this meaninglessness itself. I am already happy. Very impressive. It seems you found the meaning of your life. Not even this punishment can dominate you. I must reflect on this too. Well, the time has come. I will send down the boulder, so push it back up again. There it goes. You did not give up even amidst the endless repeating challenges. And in that process, you discovered true happiness. We support your life, constantly striving like Sisyphus. Congratulations on clearing the game. Well, here's to our hard work. Something like 6-7 hours in the making. As we watch all the areas that we traversed and conquered go rolling away. Before, when this happened, it was usually a sense of despair. Now it's more of a gratitude, I suppose. So going back to your question, how long is long? Typically I prefer to have some sort of conclusion for each of like the times that I spend. Like each time I sit down to play a game, I like to have some sort of conclusion, which is why I like roguelikes so much, because typically you'll be able to play through or run in one like gaming session, and then the next gaming session is like completely independent of the previous one. I'm taking 6 hours and 8 minutes. Out of bounds count 25. Total distance traveled 14,678 meters. Well, there we have it. All right, let's check out some of these newer boulders, huh? How do we unlock this? Oh, it's just free. Fascinating. Okay, well. Onwards then, I guess. So honestly, that doesn't seem bad at all. Yeah, definitely some people take longer. So there are definitely some roguelikes like FTL where one run is typically takes more time than what I will typically spend in one gaming session. And those I tend to struggle with those. Just because I will like finish up a session, save the game, put it down, and then come back the next time and be like, what is going on in this run? I don't remember what my build is, I don't remember what I'm like aiming for. I'm just completely lost. I may as well just start over again. So Monster Hunter kind of breaks the mold. It is sort of like there is like progression, and it is, I've largely played it as a single player experience, to be honest, even though it is very much like a multiplayer is like a important feature for it. But it does sort of have like the satisfying conclusion element. Oh, that was interesting. Where like you sit down, you go, you fight a monster, and then oh, hello. A hunt will only take so long. And you either, interesting, it kind of like sticks. It sticks to those petals. Nope. Yeah, so Monster Hunter basically you'll always finish a hunt within a gaming session, just because it's timed. And sure, it might not always be satisfying. Sometimes you try a hunt and you just die, and that's just fine, you know. But at least there was like some amount of conclusion to it. There are definitely other games that I have played that are more like single player experiences. I've played a number of like shorter indie titles, so I really enjoyed a lot of Supergiant's work. So Bastion, Transistor. I'm supposed to go over to the left hand side, right? I need to do this to myself. I have played through both Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5, both base Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, which are very much like extensive, long single player experiences. But that's because I did it with Rosie. So there was, you know, some amount of social incentive to do so, to get through it. I played through a portion of The Witcher as well. Oh, sorry, The Witcher 3 specifically. And I enjoyed my time with it, but it sort of like ran into the same pitfalls that I've had with, you know, most single player experiences, which is like, well, I could be spending this time to play with other people. So realistically speaking, it is mostly a what's the word? Not sunk cost. That's not it. What is the word that I'm looking for? I'm completely blanking. I've not tried. Okay, I have tried Dark Souls 2. Specifically, I borrowed it on the PS4. And I bounced off of it because I could not get over the fact that the sprint button was the same button as the jump or as the roll button. Just you had to hold it instead of tap it. So I would keep trying to like sprint in order to get out of the way of stuff because I liked having the additional precision over just rolling. But like the slight delay for the sprint to kick in just bothered me. So that was less of a like experience issue and more just like a technical, like, I don't know. Just didn't like how the controls work. I could probably get into a Souls-like on the PC, especially a more modern one. So like Bloodborne or Hero, or like Lies of P or whatever is the rage these days. But yeah, I think for the most part it's just, ooh, I'm kind of surprised I didn't get launched. I think for the most part it's just like a, gosh, why can I not remember the term? Like when opportunity cost, there we go, that's the word that I'm looking for. Mostly it's like an opportunity cost thing where it's like, because I am primarily a social gamer, It's like any amount of time that I spend playing video games, I would just, if the options are I play the game on my own or I play a game with friends, and playing the game with friends is always going to win out. So it's just like difficult for me to justify playing through a long single player experience, because I get more out of a social experience. But for the purpose of streaming, like streaming itself is a social experience. So I don't think I would mind playing a single player experience for the purposes of streaming. So I think I would be down for a Souls-like if, you know, that's what you're interested in seeing. And honestly, like, I would argue that Monster Hunter is kind of comparable to a Souls-like. Sure, like the mechanics, the systems are different, but I think like conceptually, they are somewhat similar. So yeah, you know, let me know what you're interested in seeing. If you wanna just like send me a list or something, I'm happy to take a look through it. As of now, I don't think I particularly feel the urge to follow like the streaming meta. Yes, I understand that I'm playing the game of Sisyphus right now, which I'm only playing because of the streaming meta. But as I've mentioned before, the reason that I was interested in streaming this game is more due to the conversation topics that I thought it would spark. And I think it's done a good job of that. I think there was a lot to talk about that was inspired by it. I think the Outer Wilds would be fun. All right, I will put it on my Steam wish list. Oh, is this only one poke? I assumed it was 3 pokes. Okay, yeah, just 1 poke. Good enough. And obviously I won't do it next week since you will likely be out of town. 2, 3, okay. So I'll pick something else for next week, and then guess we'll kind of reconvene. Yeah, the only thing that I know about Outer Wilds is that it's related to space, and that a lot of people like watching people play it for the first time. So I'm definitely down. I do think it would be an interesting challenge to stream something like something that's just like very high intensity with a lot of variance. So something like League of Legends, something that's like competitive multiplayer, just as a continuation of my training arc for my ability to talk about stuff while otherwise engaged. but I'm not sure if I'm quite ready for that kind of a challenge yet. Oops. So maybe I'll try League next week. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I'll do Hades since I do have like a baseline for how I did talking about stuff before my Muse Dash stream and the for the Sisyphus training arc. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to go around the mud. That's okay. We're not speedrunning here. I mean, I guess we're using the speedrunning ball, but the intent here is not to speedrun the game. The ball, weirdly enough, it feels like the ball has more control. I can't tell if it's just me having gotten better at the game, or if like due to the increase in momentum, there's like more consistency. Oh, of course, I jinxed myself. Not speedrunning yet. I'll think about it. Not really sure if I'm up for speedrunning. Just because it would, you know, I'd have to dedicate so much time to one thing. Which, to be fair, you know, I'm not necessarily against that. Not necessarily against that. And I'm gonna jinx myself again, but at least I've not managed to ring out or out of bounds yet this run. Definitely doing better than our original Boulder run, huh? I guess since we're talking about this kind of stuff, what do you enjoy about the stream content that you watch? Or what do you enjoy about the stream content that you do enjoy? Last time I never reset all the way back to the bottom. Could have sworn there was one. Oh, yep, there's that jinx that I talked about. Out of bounds. I could have sworn early on I reset back down to the bottom, but you know, it was like when I first picked up the boulder, so I really had not gotten very far. First and foremost, well, sure, but like, you know, what about the person? Like, do you do it for their humor? Do you do it for their ability to just like talk about random stuff? You do it for their ability in playing the game? Do you do it for like the crazy antics that they get up to? Come on, there we go. Yeah, it's weird to think about, isn't it? And there's definitely streamers that do multiple things well. And there's, oh geez, keep doing the same thing. And there's also definitely like you'll watch different streamers for different reasons. Really struggling with this, huh? Guess I don't have to go around it. I could just brute force my way through the puddle, but I do. All right, that's not too bad. Well, that's fine. Once again, we're not really going for any speed records here. Just trying to make our way up back to the top with a different boulder. Yeah, because there are definitely streamers that I've watched in the past where it's like, you know, I watch them because they are just really good at games. I've also watched streamers in the past because they're just like really good at talking about things and telling stories. Oh. Or I'll watch streamers because the way that they interact with people is interesting or amusing, where it's like I might not necessarily enjoy them all that much solo, but like when they collab with other people, then it's they create good like interactions between people. And I've also, you know, I've also watched streamers just because they come up with some crazy ideas for what they're doing on stream. I know this is a much faster ball, but I can't believe we're at this level already. You watch a decent amount of Hermitcraft, a long-running Minecraft SMP, often for the interaction between players. What's an SMP? I'm unfamiliar. I haven't played much Minecraft, nor have I watched much Minecraft, so I'm a bit out of the loop on that front. Survival multiplayer server. I see. Not creative mode. Gotcha. Yeah, it's always interesting when you have like live stream, like, I don't necessarily want to call them events, but just like big undertakings where it's like almost like a mega game. There's just like so much going on with the number of different people interacting that one person just like can't really keep track of everything. But then you hear stories about the stuff that happens. You're like, whoa, that's crazy. Did you hear about what XYZ got up to? That'd be fun. Running a mega game. I'm realizing now there's some of them I tune out when they start waxing into their specific life philosophy because chat becomes a Q&A on life advice. Interesting. I've definitely watched a lot of clips where people will talk about their life philosophy, but when it comes to clips, obviously they're filtered and cherry picked, so they're only taking what is of the most value. I definitely feel like I've talked a fair bit about my life philosophy in this game in particular. But, you know, I also kind of chose this game with that intention, I suppose. Honestly, yeah, it's much like a Micah game. Yeah. Yeah, I think that is very much the appeal. Can I go to the left here? Left and then right. Good number of the streamers I watch, I probably watch their YouTube videos, which sometimes are just edited versions of the stream. Yeah, that's part of why I was like, I mentioned I was considering editing down my streams and then turning them into videos. I don't necessarily think I want to make them just like straight up videos on my channel. I could maybe see doing like a secondary specific clips channel. Oh wow, okay. Let's see if we can just like cheese this over the wall. I know I did not have much success with it last run. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have much success with it with this wall because this is even bouncier than the stone, than the boulder. I think I will have to learn how to get it over the ramp. This is going to be kind of awkward. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I would want to make them videos on my main channel just because I do think I want my primary content on my main channel just be music related. Okay. I do want to continue working on cover related projects. And I think if I started making video of stream content, that would perhaps decrease the amount of motivation that I had for those projects. It was tough. I mean, that's sort of the intent, I suppose. It is just supposed to be tough. Oh, so close. Okay, let's try this again. Oh dear, lost that. I think I will have to learn. Oh geez, that just like flicked over to the left there. I think I will have to learn how to use the camera to adjust my my force vector. Oh dear. Oh dear. Nope, not quite. Yeah, I'm sure that we're just gonna be here for a while. And that's okay. Was sort of the expectation. I would finish up the first one with the boulder, and then just spend some time messing around with the faster speedrunning balls. It's okay if I don't make it. It's okay if I don't revisit this game after the fact. Oh dear. Yeah, I think clips are a way that a lot of people consume live stream content, actually, amusingly enough. I mean, it makes sense. You get all the cherry-picked best highlights. And then you can also watch it at your own convenience instead of whenever the person is live. Ugh. Scoot, scoot. There we go. I think I just have to rely a little bit less on my mouse clicks to turn it side to side and more on my positioning around the ball, maybe? Not quite. Need to get around a little bit more. Bounce? Yes. Oh, okay. Hey, not too shabby. That didn't take nearly as long as I would have expected to. To be fair, I think we did get pretty lucky with not falling off the ramp, off the right-hand side when I took a step over, but we take those. Yeah, we'll take that W all the way to the bank. Definitely surprised at this pace that we're making. Yes, it is a faster ball, but also I feel like I've definitely made fewer mistakes than when I was first attempting with the boulder. And of course, I'm sure that I will jinx myself and then immediately get reset. But hey, that's okay. We're not going for anything crazy here. I get reset. I get reset. That is okay. All right, this is gonna be immediately loses the boulder. I was just going to say this is going to be a weird section. Everything before it you can kind of just like power through as long as your control of the ball is good enough. But for the air vent section, I think I will be forced to stop. Oh, back down the ramp. Well, at least it'll get caught. That's not too shabby. Definitely reminded a bit of juggling. Oh dear. Okay, that's not too bad. Just sometimes, sometimes you make progress and then you get reset. Something you have to live with. Oh, dang. Unfortunate. Oh no. That's I am my own undoing. All right, once more. Guess I would not mind attempting other rage games either. That is what the people want. Okay, I will need to take a break momentarily, as it is medication o'clock. Interesting. So I can potentially just brute force my way past those. So I think I will attempt the ramp one more time. And then if I manage to pass it, I will drop the ball off at a checkpoint. Oh, and if I don't, I'll just leave it. Well, that's good enough. Today is Thursday. Well, I should have seen that coming. Oh, jeez. My brain just completely shut off there. Okay. Alright, onwards and upwards. I think I want to hang to the left-hand side here. A little too much. Oh, shoot. Got out from behind it. And there it goes. Goodbye. If the ball cost 0, I wonder if it would have just let me start with the sapphire ball. I wonder if that would have been a more frustrating experience than with the boulder. This texture on the ball just really makes me think of bowling balls. Bowling is such an interesting, well, maybe not bowling specifically, I guess like sports in general that are not like institutions. I mean, at this point, bowling kind of is an institution, but new, like young sports are such an interesting phenomenon. Just because, like, I guess games are kind of the same way too, where when a new game or sport first, like, comes into being, the attitude towards it, oh man, is like much more casual, which makes sense because, like, you know, no one's really had the time to hone skills specific to that sport or that game. And then it's nice because then everyone kind of gets in at the ground floor. And you don't have to go up against, like, institutional knowledge or, like, people who have trained their entire lives to do this one thing really, really well. So it kind of happened with, like, Ultimate Frisbee, and it's happening, like, again now with, like, pickleball, where because it is new and the people who play it aren't, like, specifically athletes for that sport, it's much more accessible, which means that you manage to capture, like, a fairly broad audience. And then over time, as the community grows, and people develop their skills more, the community, like, shifts to be more more try-hard, more skillful, and on the one hand you lose a bit of your more casual player base, but on the flip side, like, competitiveness is kind of the path to longevity for a game. I feel like bowling's the only thing that's really managed to stick around as a, like, very much a casual experience, like a widely accepted casual experience, having been a very, very competitive sport. Not to say that, like, you know, sports and competitive sports and competitive games cannot be played casually. It just feels like it's a lot more difficult to get into those types of things after a certain point. I'm just struggling here, huh? Because, like, bowling is very much accepted as just like a, oh dang, I walked in the wrong direction there. Very much just accepted as a, like, one-off social experience in a way that a lot of other sports aren't. Like, people will make a night to go out bowling even if bowling is not something that they do very often, and it's just not the experience with a lot of other sports. Oh, that's unfortunate. And it's gone. It's a social experience. Yeah, I mean, but you can make the argument that, you know, other sports are too. Especially like team sports. Spending much of the time hanging out. Yeah. That's true. And I guess you have other, like, dexterity games that kind of fill a similar niche. So like, you know, people sort of treat darts or like billiards the same way. Not all sports have as much time just vibing. Yeah, that's true. I think part of it is like, it is on its own, like an individual activity where like ultimately it is sort of like self versus game. So it just isn't like super competitive. That went pretty well. I think a significant portion of getting past the ramp is just the setup, like getting the approach at the right spot, at the right angle. I think is a big part of actually navigating over the ramp. So I guess I would compare something like bowling to a like a Euro game. Multiplayer solitaire, I think, is the term frequently used, where it's like you're very much engaged in your own puzzle, and there are other people around you involved, but they don't really interact with what you're interacting with, and vice versa. So the experience is very much like player versus game, player versus self, and not like player versus player. Oh, okay. 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And yeah, I think you're right about the amount of downtime being important as well. Oh, hello. Well, that was unfortunate. Okay, that's not the worst. A lot of team sports don't have that same amount of downtime. I guess you could make the argument for football, but if you're playing it in a casual setting, typically you won't spend as much time in between plays just like vibing. I guess golf is also kind of similar in that regard. Oh, sorry. I meant in the like multiplayer solitaire has a lot of downtime. So very much fits sort of the profile that we're discussing. I'm not sure if it is as common be like a casual thing, just because I feel like the barrier to entry for golf is a bit high from the monetary perspective. but it definitely, like, the experience does not change much if you are playing with someone who is significantly better or significantly worse than you. Whereas with a lot of like competitive team sports, if there is a very large skill gap, it makes the experience very, very, very different. Whew. All right, I think we can make it through this first section of the ring. Yeah. Onwards. Then we'll stop this guy. Cool. Oh boy, this is gonna be weird. Use it. Good enough. To be fair, much of the point of golf is the social interaction. That's true. That's true. I think it does very much fit the profile of kind of stuff that we're discussing. I think it is just less common for like a social experience the way that bowling is, just because of the cost. I guess I would not mind just like, you know, going out and playing a round of golf with people. But then again, I'm also down to go out and get my butt kicked in a new sport, so that might be specific to me. Golf's the worst sport. I mean, golf's quite fun though. That's true. That's true. Golf is very detrimental for its environmental effects. I think I've only ever been to mini golf maybe once when I was fairly young. So I've not really had a recent frame of reference for it. But I can definitely see the appeal. I mean, I juggle, so you know. Definitely see the appeal in a dexterity challenge. Can I get through all three? Probably just two. Play it safe. Go for two. Definitely could have done three. That's okay. Really interesting thinking about like what makes a good casual game. There actually isn't much mini golf near you. I think there's a monster mini golf pretty close, but I've never been. It's interesting thinking about what makes a good, dang, can I say it? All right, good. A good casual game, because I feel like what makes a good casual like sport is different from what makes a good casual video game. So I feel like good casual video games, like there is just a lot of player interaction. Must be newish. There was a place near me. It's quite worn out, but still fun. Yeah, definitely definitely not something that needs to be new to be appealing. Yeah, I think a lot of the like popular casual video games have a ton of player interaction. So I'm thinking like Mario Kart, Mario Party, Smash, like Fall Guys, Battle Royales to some extent. I guess Battle Royale is a little bit less so. Not as much player interaction, a bit more downtime than the others. But I guess for video games, oh, okay, I guess that worked. Never punist. For video games, player interaction is oftentimes a way of injecting randomness, whereas in like real life physical situations, any player interaction is just going to be like, there's always going to be a skill check involved. That's really interesting now that I think about it. Because you want a high variance in a casual setting, because that's how you make up for the skill differential. And video games can very much take advantage of that, because they can build in that variance, whereas it's much more difficult to do in real life. Now I'm trying to imagine like how you would go about building a casual sport from the ground up. Oh, I've never seen that happen before. Oh, we're up to lava, huh? Like, if we were to build a casual sport from the ground up, with the specific intent of like, oh, okay, we want this to be something that like is difficult to optimize for competitive play. Like, what would that look like? No, that's not how it goes. Pickleball is the most recent example. Yes, but I think part of that is just that like pickleball is still new. I think a significant reason that it has had success is because the player base is not yet like grown to the point that there is institutional like knowledge and like skill buildup. Then again, I haven't actually played pickleball, so I can't exactly say. Oh, jeez. No! All right. Oh, there it goes. Oh, that's not too bad. I don't necessarily think of pickleball as like inherently high variance. I guess the other option for instead of having high variance, which is one way to sort of like negate a skill differential, the other option is to have a low skill ceiling. So it's like, well, you can hone all you want, but the amount of optimization you can do just isn't that much. The performance output of someone who has spent a lot of time honing their skill is just not that different from someone who is new. And I guess we could maybe make the argument that that is where pickleball falls. I don't actually know. Once again, I haven't actually played pickleball. Probably struggling on that one turn. Oh, dang. Okay. Back behind the ball. Haven't played it either, just know it's trendy right now. Yeah. Yeah, my parents have been playing it for a while. They say that they've made a lot of friends playing it because a lot of people play it. My dad has been into racket sports for a fair portion of his life, as long as I've been alive, at least. And he was able to convince my mom to try it. So low skill floor definitely helps with casual play. And then low skill ceiling can also help as well due to the variance as discussed, decreasing the player skill differential. The decreasing the output of player skill differential, I guess is the best way of putting it. This is not looking good for me, is it? Oh, that's not too bad, actually. Just damage boost our way through. Oh dear. But I do think you still want some degree of like skill expression. Otherwise, there would be no reason for people to keep playing. I think I went around the outside here. So I guess if we were to build a casual sport from scratch, we want something with, well, I guess to make the challenge interesting, it would I would specifically want it to be like a competitive team sport. Because like we know that multiplayer solitaire type activities work pretty well. So we would want something with either high variance. Well, ideally we have something that is high variance, low skill floor, and then like a capped skill ceiling of some kind. Maybe not capped, maybe we can call it like a soft cap, diminishing returns maybe. So you can't just like hone forever. And then the question would be, how do you introduce that in a live play environment? Ooh, bouncy. I guess if you play with equipment could be one place to introduce it. But the issue with that is, as the game ages and people take it more seriously, people will, the more competitive people will look to make the equipment less bias. Oh, rough. Maybe not bias, just like less random. So think about like how competitive Smash, they turn off all the items and they interesting. Competitive Smash, they turn off all the items. And similarly, competitive Mario Kart is done in teams. So it's like you negate the randomness of items by increasing the number of interactions you have with that random factor. Where if you're playing Mario Kart solo, you only have, you know, however many item pickups on a single map. But if you're playing Mario Kart competitively, typically it's like one team versus the other team. What the heck? What just happened? It just pushed it straight through the wall. Whereas competitive Mario Kart, you have two teams, so you have 6 players on each team. So you're basically multiplying the instances of interaction with the random element times 6. And that way you sort of like mitigate the effect of randomness across the teams. I Oh man, goodbye Boulder. So, if that's the case, equipment is probably not the best way of introducing randomness. Because over the time, people will just sort of like force evolution. And you can probably make the same argument for the environment as well. That's probably why there are a number of competitive video games that work as a casual experience, but not very many competitive, like, well, team sports, I suppose. Well, I did not expect to get into a discussion about the game design of video games versus IRL sports today, but here we are. I guess while I'm here, I will make the pitch that quad ball should be played on unicycles, because that is the most accurate Muggle equivalent to broomstick. But you know, the population that plays quad ball is already so small. I'm pretty sure if they made learning to ride a unicycle a requirement, that population would be even smaller. I think if they did that, it would also you would also come up with a much more interesting implementation for the snitch. Because right now, because the way the game works, the snitch is just a person, and the fight over the snitch just kind of becomes a wrestling match, which is fine, but not necessarily in the spirit of the snitch. I mean, that being said, like, Quidditch to begin with is not good game design. So maybe I should not be evaluating it on its game design to begin with. Okay, just drift. Why not? Whatever works. Oh. Oh. Okay, not too shabby. Not too shabby. Semi-related, I find it interesting how, like, Harry Potter is such a distinctly millennial phenomenon. Like, it was such a big franchise, and then things happened. No! Oh man, I was doing so well. I'm trying to think of other franchises that have sort of had a similar like meteoric rise, die-hard fan base, and then just like completely ignored by the following generation. I would not necessarily be surprised if Marvel Cinematic Universe sort of ended up in a similar situation for different reasons, obviously, but you know, same like trajectory. Just because the there is now like so much like homework that needs to be done in order to understand what's actually going on. Which is interesting because I feel like the video game industry has understood this forever. Like if you make a sequel to the game, it has to be to some degree standalone, right? Like obviously the fans of the original game will appreciate continuity, but a lot of games are created in such a way that like even if you haven't played previous games, the other games are still very much enjoyable as standalone experiences. But with the direction the MCU has taken, it isn't really the case. Maybe it's the cynic in me, but I'd imagine it's partially due to like cash grabbiness, where it's like, oh man, we want to make sure our audience watches all of our movies, and in doing so they just end up alienating the audience that isn't up for watching all of their movies. Oh, speaking of, there's been some controversy in the League of Legends community recently. Ah, dang. There's been some controversy in the League of Legends community recently because they basically created a Hall of Fame. And they've inducted Faker, who is widely considered like undisputedly the greatest player of all time. And to celebrate this, they've released a number of bundles. The most expensive bundle, basically there's like a battle pass with a whole bunch of things to unlock in the battle pass, as well as 2 skins. And you have the option of buying the battle pass and both skins, and then also immediately unlocking everything in the battle pass. So it's like you don't actually have to grind out the battle pass. But it costs roughly $500 US. And the player base is like, okay, sure, you don't have to get the $500 battle pass. That was kind of cool. But like, the player is well known for not using skins, and the fact that you're like honoring this player by, I need to get this off of this launch, dang it. It's gone. The fact that you're honoring this player by making like really expensive skins is just not... Feels like a slap in the face, I guess. Man. Was feeling okay on that lava run too. No! Not the hammers! How are we doing on time? 9:45. Alright. Got a couple of more attempts, I think. Then we will call it. It's interesting hearing the community reaction, because there are also some people who are like, well, you know, this is clearly targeted for the whales. And as long as the whales are, you know, happy to pay, it's keeping the game free for the rest of us. So we may as well let them do it. And it's like, yeah, okay, I guess. But that doesn't necessarily stop it from being, like, a predatory practice. I don't know. I very much feel like old man yells at clouds when it comes to microtransactions in video games. Guess we had the conversation about dedicated servers last stream. Also falls in this umbrella. Capitalism for you. Yep. It's true. As long as there's money to be made. I think I'll actually get past this lava section in the time I have left tonight. I don't know. We'll see. You know, I never really considered myself as being interested in speedrunning, mostly as mentioned earlier because I'm primarily a social gamer. Therefore, you know, most of speedrunning is very much a solo endeavor. But I can see the appeal. Oh, rough. No! Bad. Just like, you know, honing any other skill set. No. Oh. Saw that coming too late. Alrighty. Try this again. Okay. Not too shabby. Rift. 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 Nice. I need to do a better job of getting around the corner on that one. Oh no, too far, too far, too far. Unfortunate. That's fine. Nope. It won't stay. That's okay. That's how it would be sometimes. But theoretically, this is a 20-ton boulder. Fastest we've seen it go is 50 meters a second, I think, when the golem throws it. So we're looking at a metric ton would be 1,000 kilograms. 50 meters per second squared would be 2,500 times 20,000 grams. That's what? How many zeros is that? 20,000 would be 4 zeros. And 2,500. Oh, jeez. Interesting. Just like phase through the little plunger there. Oh, too much. Never punist. 4 zeros. 7 zeros. And then 50. 5 times 10 to the 8th power joules. A lot of energy. Definitely one of those don't think too much about it scenarios. Oh no, 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 no. Ah, rough. Saved by the explosive? No. It's gone. Yeah, sometimes the explosives can nudge it back on path. At least, you know, close enough to where you can catch it. Not this time, though. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that I am not going to make it past lava tonight. That's okay. I didn't really didn't really expect much of anything with the sapphire boulder. Honestly, the fact that we've made it to lava at all is kind of surprising to me. Oh, hello. Let me through! All right. Moving. Back to lava. Really struggling to get to go around corners, huh? Okay. Not too far. Okay. Not too shabby. Hello. Riff. Nice. Riff. Oh no. I need to get onto this. Onto this. There we go. Nice. Gotta be patient. Just gotta be patient. No! Get back. Oh dear. Oh man. The fact that you lose camera control when you flinch is really rough. Dang, I felt pretty good about that run too. Glass. Be like that sometimes. No. Oh wow, that really really moved. All right, I think I will give this one more solid attempt, and then we'll call it a night. Wow, it's really going, huh? I think the game's like, no, you should just call it a night here. Oh boy. Yeah, that's fine. We'll give it the old college try. A little short. Huh. Interesting. Did not get launched into the air. Interesting. Those were not particularly successful bomb jumps, but maybe that's because I did them wrong. Oh no, back into air vent. Feels bad. Right. I see you, game. I understand what you're trying to tell me, but I'll give it one more shot. At least it didn't reset me back or ice. Wow, it finally stopped. Yeah, it did. If it had reset me back before ice, I might have just called it there. Alrighty. Last attempt. Had an acquaintance who did a lot of snow sports. And they used to say, you never make a run with the intent of it. You never make a run with the intent of it being your final run, because you'll always be disappointed. So it's far better to finish a run, say that was a good run to end on, and then call it on a good run. One more time, exactly. I will give it one more shot. Oh no. All right, we're back on ice. We're back before ice. Yeah, the sapphire ball definitely moves. Makes it much more difficult to actually stop. Look at that spin. Look at it go. At this point, do you think it's more worthwhile just to reset it? Oh, finally stopped. Unless? Man, the collision in this game is pretty wild, huh? All right, let's see what we can do with this. This is not going to end well for me, is it? Okay, okay. Good enough. Moving. You know, I had just completely forgotten that the sprint button exists. So I have just been sprinting this entire time. Maybe it would have made sense to take it a little bit slower on the ice ramp and on lava. But here we are, learning speedrunning strats, I guess. Ooh. Come on, work with me here. There we go. Oh. Definitely unstick from the boulder more on ice, I think. Not sure what exactly is about it. It's just that the momentum changes are a little bit more difficult to make. Alright. See if I can make this happen. Ooh. Oh, wow, so close. Okay. Well, I think I'm happy to call it there. Honestly, that was a pretty solid attempt. Alrighty. Let's see. Alright. So occasionally I will write a bit of poetry mostly as a journaling process, to be honest, but also because a lot of the stuff that I'm doing for this channel is related to lyrics, and lyrics and poetry kind of go hand in hand. So the poem for tonight is one of my own. Don't have a name for it yet, but here goes. The thing that I enjoy the most is burying the troubled ghosts that cling upon my yesterdays and stubbornly insist to stay. They speak of bygone ages past, ignore time's march crossed acres vast, of drips and dribbles, things I've done, equate them to the burning sun. But now and then I have a day where all my passions go one way. My heartbeat thuds within my chest, and one more ghost is laid to rest. Thought it overlapped pretty well with some of the stuff that we talked about, both this stream, the previous one, as well as finally making the summit in this silly little game, and then proceeding to try and go at it again with the speedrun ball. Well, as always, thanks so much for hanging out, friends. Hope you enjoyed that.